There's hope in tomorrow, and we make a way by working to save our today. You may not understand, but know there's a promised land. And the day may be dark, but yet still we must fight. Let shadows bow down to the light.
Ooh, that's a good song I just recently found. Keep it on in the background a little bit. I'm using my new mixer. Hey, it's your buddy Dustin Warnke. I'm so excited that you've chosen to join me for another episode. Hey, we're building this thing. I'm excited. I am so excited. So today's episode, we're going to talk about some good habits. I've got something I'm going to put in the show notes, probably in Google Docs. And this is something that I based this episode around. Based off of, I think, a podcast, kind of a personal development podcast that I heard. And it's called 5 Morning Statements. And I want to go over each one of these statements. And that's what we're going to do today. Got some interviews coming up, some clips from other interviews from my other podcasts, The Best of the Outdoors. To get to this podcast, it's simple, dustinspodcast.com. Remember, we've got the Empowered Life Nation, which is empoweredlifenation.com. And we're all about getting over hardships. We're all about finding our purpose and meaning and significance in this life, and speaking and acting in truth and light on behalf of the divine white light of God. All right? This is a movement that I'm leading. This is not something that I just dreamed up one night. I have been trying to get to this stage for years, I guess, you know? No, it's been probably the last 4 years, which have been the hardest 4 years of my life thus far. And you know what? I know on the last episode I talked about Job and the fact that Job's life is very similar to how my life has been. But see, Job kept his faith. His own wife in the book of Job, okay? His own wife said, curse God and just die, just kind of paraphrase it. Just curse God and die. He had been struck by all these incredibly challenging situations within a matter of hours. So, he starts off with his whole, the saga of his destruction of his entire kingdom with people, the one servant that got away from whatever was destroyed comes running and says, I'm the only one who could come and tell you. I'm the only one who survived, and I'm the only one who could come to tell you. And he lost sheep. He lost camels. All of his children were burned to death in the same building as they were having a feast. Okay? I mean, just crushed in a day's time. Okay? And then, God allows his faith to be tested again. And he is struck with these painful boils from the feet of, the bottoms of his feet to the crown of his head. And they don't kill him, but they're just enough to suffer in agony. And that's when his wife comes over and says, Job, just curse God and die. She didn't have the faith. 3 of his closest friends come over and basically, start playing the blame game and say, you must have brought this on yourself. The whole question of why bad things happen to good people, right? You must have done something. Your kids must have done something. Somebody must have sinned somewhere to cause all this plight in your life. And for you to look like this. I mean, he looked horrible. He was covered in boils, painful, sores and just an extremely difficult agony, just anguish. Could not sleep, could not eat, was just a broken man, but he kept his faith. That's what I want you to hear today. He kept his faith. I'm not going to read the whole book of Job. You can go read that on your own. Those are the kind of the cliff notes of the story. But that's not the end of it. The end of the story is that Job miraculously is restored. And he is given multi-folds of what he lost. Sheep, camels. He had all the kids. And he got to live to 4 generations. Okay, God extended his life and restored him. And restoration and healing is what our world needs. That's why I want you to share this podcast with a friend. Not for my reasons, not just for this Empowered Life Nation movement, but our world needs hope now more than they ever have. And your voice of hope may be the only hope some people ever hear. It's kind of like my manager used to say. He had some funny sayings, but one of the things he learned from one of his pastors or one of these Christian influencers was that you may be the only Bible somebody ever reads. God is in control, and you may be the only Bible that anybody ever reads. However you believe the Bible to be true, to be the true inspired word of God, or to have contradictions, that's irrelevant. That's low density. I'm talking about high density, higher level thinking. Okay? Paul talks about being transformed by the renewing of your mind. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I believe that's in the book of Romans, if you want to look it up. But I'm not going to sit here and just quote verses all day. There's plenty of podcasts that do that. We're talking about real life. We're talking about where the bullets are real out there in the real world. And where there are places that aren't safe. Where there are places that seem hopeless. But remember, God is inside and outside of this universe, and every atom, subatomic particle, is vibrating and is part of all that is. It's part of Yahweh, which is why I kind of get on here and preach, brother, But I preach that it's Yahweh, not our way. Free will is freely given to all of us. Okay, that's one thing why I believe there is definitely a God, because we're given free will. All right, some countries have no rights at all. Okay, we say that in America these are God-given rights. Well, what about the people in Sudan or Liberia? There's some places in the world people have no rights, and we talk about our Bill of Rights here, and then our Second Amendments and our 13th, all the different amendments, the 13th, the second, the third, the fifth. We talk about pleading the fourth or pleading the fifth. All right. Some people have no rights on this earth. Have you ever thought about that? I mean, do we take that for granted? I took a shower this morning, and I was thankful in the moment of that shower. Not that it was just relaxing. It was a great way to wake up. I always come up slowly from a nap, and I always go slowly down for a nap or to sleep for the night. Okay. And part of my morning and afternoon is usually, just taking a shower, or a bath, depending on where I'm at. Right now I'm at my place, so I've just got the shower. And I live in a tiny home, and most tiny homes don't have baths, but at the same time, I'm standing there thanking God for the running water. You know how many people would love to have a shower with running hot water? Next time you sit down in a restaurant, think of the fact that well over 1 billion people will never have a meal as nice as the one as you're getting ready to eat. Okay? There's a good percentage of people that will never use a smartphone, let alone even a flip phone. Cellular technology. Okay? It's not that bad. What I'm trying to do is get you to minimize the negativity in your life. What you think and what you feed your brain is all up to you. That's the free will I'm talking about. Okay? You can live in gratitude, even if with nothing. You can live in gratitude, or you can live in, it's just not enough. There's a story I heard the other day. It was on a podcast. They were just playing this as part of the kind of an intro to the episode, or like a sizzle reel. And they played a video of a guy that said Adam and Eve were created, and they looked up and they said, oh, and Adam says to Eve, he goes, Oh, well, look, we've got all, the nature, the sky above, the sea below. We've got all of the mountains. We'll never have to worry about food. We never have to worry about water. Like it's all there. And Eve says, yeah, it's just not enough. you know and the whole point was that somebody didn't get the punchline and was waiting for more. But that's the whole joke of that whole video and them playing it, is the fact is that there's a woman there that was like, well, I was just waiting for more. And they were like, well, that was kind of the punchline of the joke was, and that is the human free will. A lot of times it's just kind of like old Burns on The Simpsons, Burns and Smithers, and Burns is like the richest man on the earth in The Simpsons. And, one of the comments that has always stuck with me is, I'd trade it all for just a little more. And that's greed. Like that's greed. And then greed, there's corruption. All right. And don't just take what I'm talking about with the scams going on online and all the things that the whole world has gone to hell in a handbasket. I'm not trying to get you to think like that. I'm trying to get you to think of the fact that look at the rebirth that is happening to some of us who are becoming spiritually awake to all the bread and circuses in the world. Okay, what's going on and what's gone on over the last decades that I've been alive at the White House. Okay, up in Washington D.C. In states where they allow, they decriminalized all the hard drugs, such as Oregon. All right, it's just like, okay, free will, we are a consequence of free will, but then all the problems that we have with make the world look like it's on fire if you watch the news at all, that's our problem too, because we chose greed. We chose being power hungry and wanting influence. We chose that as a fallen creation. God wants us to have a great life. But with still yet we suffer. Why do we suffer? We suffer because, of a number of different things. And I don't get into politics in this show. That's not my thing. Okay, I don't get into politics in this show. I don't feel like it's something that I think that's appropriate. And again, I don't care if you love our president, don't love our president. Okay, but when it comes, and I've said this about every president, I'm not just saying this about our current president, and I'm not really making an inflammatory comment here. I'm not trying to, but we can't even take care of our own people here. We have money for wars, but we can't feed the poor. It's an old Tupac lyric. We have money for wars, but can't feed our own poor. And I'm not anti-war. I'm certainly not a pacifist. Okay, America was founded upon, from a war, and we've averaged a war about every 20 years per capita as far as a war. Not really per capita, but you know what I'm saying. Like, if you take the amount of wars that the United States has been into and you multiply it out for the age of the United States of America from, the independence from England, from Britain, Great Britain. So it's about every 20 years we get into a war. It's like we're a warlike people in the richest country that the world has ever known, right here in America. And there's people that are addicted to drugs. There are people that have no hope, no future, no money, no food. My personal thought, and this is just me expressing Dustin's loving kindness, is that we take care of the social problems. You know why there's no war on homelessness? Because there's no money in it. It's really not, home is more of a concept. It's more houselessness, okay? There's a whole bunch of places, whole bunch of land that could be developed, city parks and, all kinds of recreational areas that can have, tiny homes put on there, like the one I live on, or RV trailers, or anything like that. Even some of the old FEMA trailers that the government's holding on to. Wouldn't that be a good idea to give somebody a roof over their head? Help them get back on their feet? Help them get clean and sober if they're not? Get them. Now, some people don't want to change. I get that. I understand. The older we get, especially, we do not want to change. Some people want to die an addict. Some people want to die in depravity. And again, there's not much. I've got one particular client of mine who is very, very, very negative about everything, which is why I don't hang out with her very much. I try to talk to her as least as possible, because she's an atheist. I have no problem with that. I accept her belief. Like that's I'm not going to sit there and challenge that. But she has her mind made up that her life's never going to get any better. She has no friends. Again, it's a vibration. You are starting to inflect the energy on yourself that you're projecting out. And I'm not talking about woo-woo law of attraction stuff. I'm talking about like attracting like. I'm not talking about sitting in a field somewhere and waiting for a bicycle to jump in right in front of you. All right? No. It doesn't work that way. But positivity attracts positive outcomes. I know that for a fact. All right? Action towards a goal of yours, towards a dream of yours, generates positive energy. Positive energy attracts positive energy. All right? That I'm sure of. Everything in this world runs on vibrations and frequencies. Okay? You don't believe that? Get in your vehicle, turn on the FM radio. Pretty soon I think our cars won't even have FM radios, or AM radio, FM, AM radios. And the whole thing is why do that? I'll show you right there. You've got a transmitter that is running on a frequency. That's what the numbers on the dial, there used to be a dial that you punch digitally now. That's what they are. They're frequencies, radio frequency. Like I like to listen to alternative music sometimes. So 101X or 101.5 here in Austin. It's one of my, favorite alternative. Sorry, it's been a long day so far. Radio stations, and that's their frequency, right? That's what they jam on, And sometimes they have an AM equivalent, or an AM has an FM equivalent, but that's the same thing that happens in life. Vibrations, frequencies. Are you tuning into high density stuff? Content you're feeding your brain, conversations you're having, people you're around. I don't like to hang out with low density people. Okay, has nothing to do with intelligence. Okay, it has to do with integrity and character. And when I find myself in front of somebody who has immoral behavior, into things that are definitely harmful, hard drugs, that kind of stuff, and there's a low frequency conversation happening, I try to exit the stage left as quick as I can. I'm just being honest here, folks. Okay, I know I'm an intellectual. I know I've written 10 books. That has nothing to do with it. Everything has to do with how I receive somebody's character and integrity. And if it looks like they're, a meth head, well, then I'm going to try to exit the conversation as quickly as I can. I don't associate with that crowd. You have that same choice. Now, I know when you work or, places you go, you may have people you don't like, all right? You have people you don't have a choice but to see every day or work next to, all right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what you do with your own time, with your own free will when you're not at work, all right? Choose wisely who you hang out with. Birds of a feather like to flock together, all right? Now, you can see yourself, with gossip, and scratch crap with the chickens, okay? Or you can soar with the eagles, and the eagles fly above the clouds, and the eagles fly alone. A lot of times. I'm an eagle. And I'm not saying that to be high and mighty or self-righteous. No. I like to fly alone. For me, I live alone right now. I like working in solitude for my clients. I like producing the content that I'm getting ready to release for some new online, do-it-yourself courses, such as how to build a WordPress website, that kind of stuff. That'll all be at empoweredlifenation.com. And that's the thing. I want to surround myself with what matters. And if you really boil your life down to what really matters, okay? There's a book Mark Manson wrote. He's a famous author. He grew up in close to me in Manor, in the Austin metro area. And Mark Manson wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. You can finish the rest of that, all right? And he even made a movie out of it, which I enjoyed. It's one of the few movies I've watched here in the last couple of years. But his whole point is that not everything matters and not nothing matters, okay? Only a few, 3 or 4 things are what truly should matter. And it's the art, the subtle art of not giving a, because the whole point is that if you care about everything, if everything's important, you care about, low-fat yogurt and soy lattes and what's going on in the news and who's on TikTok Live and, is this gluten-free, okay? Are these tortillas, made at the restaurant? Okay, whatever, all right? Then you're not focused on the 3 or 4 most important things. You got to sleep sometime, all right? But that's the reason why we have a lot of mental health problems now. And AI is some people are using that to talk to for the mental health. And I don't know. I have a feeling about how I feel about that. But, we live in a world that distractions everywhere. And we can feed our brain 24/7 everything we can consume. We could have 3 screens on and headphones on top of it. Why? What really matters? Your faith, your family, your work, your ministry. Like I talked about in the last podcast, make your own mission statement for your own personal ministry. You as an individual. You and your spouse if you have a spouse. You and your family if you have a family. And watch what happens. You become the hands and feet of God in action. And that's really being a disciple. Not just going to church on Sunday and seeing how the Joneses are doing over there and, Mr. Black's doing because he just got out of the hospital. Look, I believe in fellowship. I believe in churches. The only thing is it's a circus in most churches. Okay? If it's not preaching the word, it's all become, it's not that interesting to me. I want to sing songs. I want to praise and worship. I want to hear the word of God as it's broken down to by a good pastor. Okay, in the last church I did all those things well. All right, but there's so many churches that are trying to fit into Western civilization and what's cool with the younger generation so the church doesn't shrivel up and die when the, baby boomer generation passes away and can't come to church anymore or shut-ins or whatever in rest homes, right? So we're trying to be cool. We're trying to adapt, all right? But Jesus was a rebel. Jesus was not cool, all right? He was cool to his disciples. Yeshua was the system interrupt. And I believe that the reason, a lot of theologians would agree that the reason why Jesus came was to reform Judaism, not to start his own religion based around him being the Messiah. He was the Messiah for the Jews. All right? Don't miss that. Don't miss God's calling on your life. Don't miss you being the church, you being the hands and feet of Christ, beyond what you give at the church of your time, talent, and treasure. It's so much more than that. Be your own personal ministry. Be the hands and feet of Yahweh. And let it be Yahweh, not your way. Moving on here, 5 morning statements to start your day with. So we're going to move into some, we talked about the philosophical. We're going to move into the tactical and practical now, all right? I'm going to paste these, like I said, beginning of the show. I'm going to Google Doc and check it out. Number 1, today I will meet resistance, and that is not a problem. I welcome it. Ooh. So this number 1 here is inspired by the Stoic philosophy. Specifically Marcus Aurelius, who is one of my favorite Stoics, because I am a bit of a Stoic philosophy kind of person. This is welcoming challenge, okay? Doesn't sound like a normal affirmation you'd make in the morning. You welcome challenges? Try it sometime. Today I will meet resistance, and that's not a problem. I welcome it. I dare you. I dare you. All right? Welcome to challenge. What are you afraid of? If you got faith, if you got unshakable faith, God's going to get you through it. You've always heard the old cliche, God gets you to it, God will get you through it. Look, I'm not talking about old cliches here. I'm talking about real life, somebody that survived really, really rough times. All right? We're talking tactical and practical. If you've never heard of me before, read any of my books, whatever, that's cool. Look, if you leave nothing else from this podcast, if you can leave with nothing else, know that God wins every time. I'm trying to help you condition to an area of your life where you can sit there and go, oh my gosh, God in every possibility wins. I know the end of the book. I read it, right? God wins at the end. God wins in your life every time. So let God win. Number 2, I can't control everything, but I can control how I show up. Okay, this is another bold affirmation to say in the morning. Okay, it's a reminder. You've got external events that are not fully in your control coming up today or in the morning or each day, all right? You don't know, all right? The bullets are real out there, as I often, talk about, since I study military history and that kind of stuff, okay? These are not blanks, okay? Things hurt, okay? Things are real in the real world, and I'm trying to talk to you as authentically and as real as I can. Okay, I have seen some stuff. Believe me, I know, I understand. All right? Doesn't matter what happens to you, it's how you handle what happens to you, how you respond to it. Not react. Okay? Somebody sends you a nasty email, sleep overnight. Okay? Let hours pass before you respond to it. Don't eagerly jump on there and get in an email exchange, which just turns into a public urination contest, okay? Not worth doing, all right? Not worth doing, folks. Okay, number 3. So, again, the first 2 are pretty bold here so far, all right? Here we go. Number 3, I am not my thoughts. I am the thinker of them. I am not my thoughts. I am the thinker of them. So this is an example of what they call in psychology cognitive distancing. It helps you observe the thoughts rather than be overwhelmed by them. So think of you that you are not the thinker. It's not you thinking. You are observing, like God would be observing you. Just imagine this for a minute, that you're observing what you're thinking, okay? You're on the outside of what you're thinking, not the inside, all right? And I have said many times, I've heard a lot of other podcasters and authors say this, if you're in your head, you're dead, all right? If you're inside your observations and your thinking, instead of observing your observations and thoughts, okay, it again, it creates a lot of, it changes your perspective for sure when you're outside of it. Cognitive distancing is what this is called. You can look this up if you want to. It helps you observe thoughts rather than being overwhelmed by them, okay? And as somebody who suffers from a lot of mental health challenges, that's a good thing. That is a very good thing. I can tell you as a mental health patient and a mental health advocate that I am, that observe. Okay, don't respond, react, jump into every situation. Don't get in a fist fight, okay? I have never been in a true fist fight in my life, all right? I always seek to de-escalate a situation so it doesn't get to that point. I've had to break up fights. I've had to get into the middle of, in adult life for sure, people who are ticked off at somebody or somebody did them wrong or whatever, and be a mediator to de-escalate that situation from going further, all right? Distancing, okay? Cognitive distancing. All right, number 4, I am grateful for what I have. I am grateful for what I have. Something like, that's like almost something I would say, right? Practicing gratitude. Like I was talking about earlier before I ever started reading this, okay? Just a reminder that what I teach, I practice too. There's some stuff I need to practice better. I'm not perfect. I might be the most faulted human you will ever meet, okay? But I'm still here. I was giving gratitude to God this morning. for the warm water pouring over my body. Because there's some people in this world, and remembering and praying for the people in this world that don't have running water at all, that have to haul water from miles away to even take a bath or a shower or, wash themselves. Okay? Attitude of gratitude. It's not hard. One exercise I teach kind of my students to do is, hey, write your goals down. Like write your gratitude goals down. I'm going to be grateful for this today, and I am grateful for this right now. Present moment, past moment, future. One of my prayers in Intentional Optimized Life is, thank you, God, for all that I have had, for all that I have, and for all that I shall have. Okay, and that's the way the prayer starts. Okay, but thank you, God, for all that I have had. You say past, all that I have now, present, and all that I shall have in the future. Okay, so gratitude wins the race every time. Gratitude is going to set you off for a positive mood, not getting up and kicking the alarm clock and the snooze button and everything, and it's Monday, and then, oh, thank God it's Friday, and then you enjoy the weekend, and then, oh God, it's Monday again. All right, wake up grateful. Okay, put gratitude first. Okay, that's what number 4 is about. All right, number 5, life is short, today matters, and I'm going to live it with purpose. Okay, this is another Stoic phrase, and I've talked about this before. I talked about this in my digital content as well at Empowered Life Nation. So this is memento mori. Memento mori. Okay. Remember that you will die. That's what it means in Latin. Memento mori. Remember that you must die. So, saying that life is short, today matters, and I'm going to live it with purpose. Okay. Again, this show is about purpose. I am about helping you find your purpose and meaning and significance, that what you do matters, that you count for something, that you keep going. All right? And when you say a phrase, life is short, first part of that is saying that, hey, we don't know when our time's going to end here, okay, on this earth. Today matters. I'm going to live in the present. I can only take life one day at a time, okay? And then the next thing, I'm going to live it with purpose. Ooh. I'm not going to just live on autopilot today. I'm going to live it with purpose and meaning and significance and hope and love and faith today. Let's say whatever you want to. You can write your own mission, vision, and value statement on your mirror. Okay? Hope. Faith. The greatest is love. The greatest is love. Don't forget that. The greatest is love. All right, and the reason why we do these 5 statements, okay, and I'm going to have these in the show notes. I may just put them directly in the show notes the more I think about it. The brain is more receptive right when you're waking, okay? You are coming out of your subconscious sleep mode into your conscious mode, all right? One thing I also recommend is kind of a little life hack is to go outside within the first 30 minutes of you waking up and get some sunlight. Just go outside, be in the outdoors. Even if it's just out on your porch or your apartment balcony or whatever the case may be. Go face the sun. It's part of facing the day, all right, within the first 30 minutes. Even if it's still dark outside, get outdoors, okay, even if it's just for a minute or two, all right? When we come into and out of consciousness, that is one of the most transformational times that our subconscious will accept whatever we put in it. So if you say these 5 statements when you wake up, I can't guarantee you anything, but it's worth a shot at least, right? Okay? This is the kind of things that I say to myself every morning. I've got a little bit of a different list, but listen, this is good stuff. Okay? So let me give you all 5 again real quick. Today I will meet resistance, and that is not a problem. I welcome it. Number 2, I can't control everything, but I can control how I show up today. Number 3, I am not my thoughts. I am the thinker of them. Okay. Number 4, I am grateful for what I have. All right. And number 5, life is short. Today matters, and I am going to live it with purpose. Folks, this is real life. I'm not making up any of this stuff, all right? This is real life. It's been a long day, sorry. The thing is, I am really enjoying doing this with you, because the more that we walk through life together, this is real life, okay? These are the things that I try to do every day. I'm not perfect either. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect either. There's not a perfect one of us out of 8 billion people on this planet right now, third rock from the sun. And we think that we're alone in this galaxy. And there's 100 billion galaxies out there. Come on, man. So, again, open your eyes, be awake, be enlightened, be love, be faith to somebody. Be the hands and feet of Yeshua HaMashiach. Be the hands and feet of Yahweh, and let Yahweh be the way, not your way, Yahweh. All right, this keeps getting better and better and better. I'm excited about really launching into this thing. I love this song. Again, just to remind you here, since we're near the end of the show, and I'm playing the closing music, Promised Land. It is by Tim McMorris. You can look this up on YouTube. And again, go out there. And I'm not saying this like the prosperity gospel people and all this other stuff that you gotta live, this way or that way, or send money in, and it's a word of faith and the prosperity gospel stuff. And you may see all the scams and all the things the darkness that has come out of a lot of charismatic Christianity, prosperity, pastors cheating on their wives, having affairs, doing crystal meth, all these kind of things. Oh, no. That's just the worst case scenario. That's what media wants you to see, all right? We never see the news about all the planes that landed safely, in other words, okay? In other words, we never see the news of the things that aren't bleeding headlines, right? Don't get caught up in that. Get caught up in the truth and the light. And be intimate with God's love. Okay? Just like I talk about on my outdoor podcast. Intimacy with the outdoors means being close, being in it, being around the elements. Okay? Finding God in the outdoors. Very important to me. Feed animals, even if they're not your animals. Okay? Watch what happens. All right? The things that are of light survive the darkness, and darkness cannot hide where the light is. My name is Dustin Von Warnke. I'm not going to use my normal intro and outro here, so here we go. DustinsBooks.com, EmpoweredLifeNation.com, and BusinessWithDustin.com is my handle. Dustin's Project's my handle too. BusinessWithDustin.com is my business for marketing agency. I'm a webmaster, do all kinds of things like that. And if you need a consult or anything like that with me, you can send me a text messages. Many as you want to. I'll respond when I can. But just try to send one at least. Just try not to call me. Numbers on businesswithdustin.com. So anyway, or send me an email, Dustin@businesswithdustin.com. And let's have a good day. Let's love life, love God, serve each other, okay? Be servant leaders if you're in a leadership role. Be a good servant to your family and a leader to your family, okay? To your friends. Love freely and give love freely. And if you want to receive love freely, okay? Love should be freely given and freely received in any relationship, whether it's some kind of a friendship, a marriage, if it's any kind of relationship like that. Love should be freely given and freely received. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it complicated. It's not complicated. Love is given freely and received the same way. That's what every great relationship should be, especially a friendship or a significant other relationship like a romantic relationship. Okay, there you go. Thank you so much again for watching, reading, listening, however you're consuming my content. I am grateful. Empower Life Nation, we're going to make it happen. Many blessings to all of you. God maximize you in your day. God maximize everybody in your life. And remember, you may be the only Bible someone ever reads. You may be the only time anybody ever sees God. Okay? Carry the light. Carry the truth. Get the skeletons out of your closet. You can't hide everything forever. All right? Don't get lost in all that, okay? Get into the light and do higher density things. Stay away from the lower density people and love like you've never loved before. That's God's call for us, is to love on each other. Not to be divided as a nation, not to be divided as a family, not to be divided at work. Unity. Unity. God bless all of you. God maximize every single one of you. We'll see you on the next one.